It's Wednesday, July the 6th. Lake levels, but 916 3/4. It hadn't changed very much in the past week. I know I talked about a couple weeks ago, I thought the bite was going to change quite a bit whenever they got the lake down to normal summer pool, which they did about a week and a half ago. And since they've slowed the generation down, I think it's really scattered a lot of the fish, especially on the deeper bite, the drop shot bite. Seemed like when they were running a lot of current that you could find the fish piled up pretty good. Now it seems like you got to work pretty hard to find them and to catch them. And when I do find them, I'm not finding them grouped up like I was when they were running a lot of water. But you know, throughout the lake, the drop shot bite's been pretty decent. You just got to work hard to find them. But they've been out on a lot of these long, flat gravel points. I've been doing better on the gravel points and what we call roll-offs than I have like the bluff ends. I've been catching some off of some deeper trees, but a lot of them seem like they'll be in that 25 to 35 foot, even some as deep as 40 foot deep. But I'm seeing a lot of fish out there in the 20 foot range. I think a lot of them are bluegill, but it's hard, for me it's hard to catch them if vertical fishing, like on a drop shot, if they're suspended 20 foot or less. I've been catching a few on a little swim bait like a 2.8 or an underspin, letting it go down to about 20-25 feet and just slow roll it. And a lot of them have been smaller fish. The keeper fish seem like they're coming off the edge of the points, and not so much dead on the point, but it seems like you got to get to one side or the other. And you know, they'll be suspended anywhere from, like say, 25 to 45 feet deep. Sometimes it'll be over 60 foot, and they'll be 35 feet deep. Sometimes they'll be right off the bottom. But it seems like when you catch one, you get a few fired up, and you can catch a few in the same area. And you know, I pretty much use the same color drop shot worms. I did run out of the Chompers brown purple lamb. I've got a little hand pour that's kind of a green pumpkin that's been working good. KVD Dream Shot. And then this is another, this is a Chompers, but it's a plum. The plum's been working well for me. And this, a lot of them same areas, you can catch them on a football jig. If you get out there early, especially down lake, down Indian Point in the dam area and around Kimberly, you can catch some smallmouth. And they don't seem as deep, but the bite doesn't seem to last too long. It seems like if you set the boat in 30 to 35 and cast, you know, come down the sides of them points and cast up on top of them, you catch some on a football jig. Green pumpkin orange is working good. PBJ, I'm either throwing a 5/8 or a 3/4, and I'm throwing some 5 fish ultimate cover jigs in place of a football jig and some standard old football jigs. The 5 fish one will come through the brush and the cover a lot better than a regular football jig will. Also, you can catch them out there on a swing head. I've been using a few different baits on the swing head. This is a big bite, kamikaze craw, and you know, it's like a biffle hardhead. And I've been throwing a 5/8 and a 3/4 ounce, and I've also been throwing a 5-inch super salty stick, which is similar to like a Cinco on the same rig. Now, if I'm up in the river arms, you know, some days I've had a really good shallow bite. Like I had the same group of guys the last couple days. Yesterday we caught them really good shallow. Today we fished a lot of the same area or the same type stuff, and we probably had as many blow-ups, but we didn't have as many fish that we got hooked up. And how we've been catching them is on a buzzbait, Cyclone Junior, popping bait, and crankbait. And it doesn't have to be early. I mean, we didn't even get up, you know, I'm fishing in the backs of creeks where there's fresh water coming in, where there's like feeder creeks, like you know, you can get up into any of the river arms where there's water flow, But I was up around Baxter the last couple days, and there's some fish in the backs of those creeks. And like I say, you don't have to get there early. We didn't get up there. I'm trying to find my buzzbait here. But we've been catching them on a combination of baits. But you know, black buzzbait's been working good. This is a big bite. Doesn't have a skirt on it. Let me get it untangled here. I just made it worse. And you know, I like to throw black with a gold blade and black with a black blade. And this one I've got a trailer hook on it. Yesterday we didn't need the trailer hook. Today we seemed like we had a lot of short strikes. But a lot of times I like to bend the blade in so it's just clacking on the head there. You know, make a little bit of extra noise. But like I say, for some reason, we'll catch like one for every 3 that blows up on the buzzbait. But on this little Spro Cyclone Junior, they've got several different colors of this, but white or black's been working real well for me. When they come up for this thing, they seem like they eat it for some reason. And the good thing about this is with the buzzbait, if he does miss it and you stop the bait sinks. We caught several fish yesterday on this. When they would come up and swat at it, you could stop the bait and then start it again, and then they'd eat it. So it's just, you know, I don't know what it is. It's just a little bit different squeak or noise that this bait makes that's been triggering a lot of bites for me the last few weeks. But these fish are back there in, you know, 8 to 10 foot of water. I'm looking for any kind of wood or rock transitions. And especially one of the keys seems to be shad. Yesterday when we were in this one particular creek, there was a lot of bait up in there flipping around. You could see feeds every once in a while. Today there was, for some reason, the shad weren't up. Now we still caught fish back there, but we didn't catch the quality that we caught the day before. And on a square bill, I've been throwing, this is a Hunter 65. It's a Spro bait also, but it's a little smaller than like a Strike King 2.5 or an RC 2.5. And it's been working a little bit better for me, you know, when I'm fishing in that 3 to 6 foot of water. I've also been throwing a Strike King 2.5 and a Chartreuse Sexy Shad. This one here, the Spro one, is a citrus shad. And it's been working real good in the same places. I mean, usually I'll have one guy throwing a topwater and one guy throwing a crankbait. Some days they'll bite one a little bit better than the other. Then when they won't bite either one of them, we've been able to catch some flipping on some of the same cover that we're cranking. And I've been throwing a little 7/16, I've got it tied on the rod, but a 7/16 ultimate finesse jig and like a magic craw or a green pumpkin orange. It seems like the crawdads got a lot of orange in their claws and on their backs right now. Also been just Texas rigging this same bait here, the 5-inch salty stick with a 1/4 ounce weight, and flipping it around any kind of cover and on the rock banks as well. A lot of times I'm not fishing just the visible cover. I'm going to the backs of those creeks and trying to key on the deeper side when I'm flipping. You know, it might be 8 or 10 foot to be a channel up against the rock. And I'm throwing right up to the bank and working it down through that channel. A lot of the places I'm throwing a crankbait, buzzbait, and a topwater bait is over on the flatter sides of the backs of the creeks. You know, like I say, if they're not on the flatter side, then I move over to where the little bit deeper water is and pick up a little jig or Texas rig worm, something to flip with. Now up in the James, you know, and I was catching them up there real good on a deep diving crankbait, but that bite seemed like since they've stopped running the water, it hasn't been as good also, but I'm still catching some up there on a Magnum shaky head and a big worm. You can use like a big lizard or a big saw crawl, but these fish have been anywhere from 15 to 25 foot deep on like ledges or bluff ends or anytime there's a point that comes way out and there's a channel on one side of it where it drops off, seems to be the best place to throw that, and also a football jig in the same place. But the water temperature I forgot to mention right at the beginning, but it's hot. I mean, it's high 80s. This past weekend, a buddy and I, we went way up into the James River on a jet boat, and caught over 50 fish. A lot of them were 12, 13-inch fish, but we also caught a lot of 15-inch fish. Nice and quiet up there, no jet boats, no wave runners, but it's actually a really good time to float. Take a canoe up there and do a float trip. You can catch them on a little buzzbait, little topwater baits, Ned rigs. But as far as the main lake fishing, it's been getting pretty dang hot out there, and much after 10 or 11 o'clock, between the boat traffic and the heat, I think the bites slow down quite a bit later in the day. But when we were up there in the river, if you go up there floating, the bite seems like it's steady all day long. If it get too hot, just plop off the canoe or the raft and cool down a little bit. So until next week, good luck, good fishing.